Hello, witches. I am High Priestess or Venus. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I feel like this is a broadcast that is much needed, especially for witches, who are heavily involved in nature. Witches work with the energy found in nature to bring about real, significant, and permanently positive change, also known as witchcraft. Witches work with nature, and that includes the wind. If you are an air sign, then you are closely related to the element of air, wind. I know this, and it's not PTSD that you are having if you have felt this way too. If you have felt this way too, you are not having PTSD. PSTD. Yes, that's it. That's what it's called. PSTD. It feels like every day has been a repeat of 2020. Every day feels like a repeat of 2020. Every day. Even before COVID-19, before the pandemic came here. In October, I'm going to tell you something that I only share with a few people who would get it. But I now feel like more people will understand this. In October of 2019, on Halloween, on Samhain, I felt like there was something different about the environment, something in the air. On October 31st in 2019, on Halloween, Samhain, it was very windy that day. And I just felt like there was something in that wind telling me that there is danger approaching. And then in March, New York went into lockdown mode. The whole world went down into lockdown mode. So I knew there was something coming. I knew there was something big, major, life-changing, world-changing, history-making coming. I knew it. By the wind. And listen, I'm not even an air sign. I'm a water sign. I'm a Scorpio. But that's just it though. I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios tend to be very psychic. They tend to be very intuitive. They tend to be able to predict things, to be able to tell the future. They just know things. They just know the future before it happens. And I feel the same way now. And the reason why I'm talking about this now is because you witches are coming to me telling me you are feeling the same way, that something is coming. A few weeks ago, I told you witches to pay attention to autumn. Not me, autumn. I'm talking about the season of autumn. I said a few weeks ago to pay attention to autumn, the season, because something big is coming. And now look what happened. It was not me that was correct. It was Hikasi that told me that. Now look what's happening between Israel and Palestine and Ukraine and Russia. No, this is not me having PTSD. No. This is just witches being highly psychic, witches being able to tell the future, witches being able to tell when danger is approaching and how danger is only going to increase. Now I'm saying to you today, live, look towards winter, look towards late November for this to increase. Look towards November. Late November, after the 15th of November. Look for everything that's happening in the world to increase, to get worse. This is not a doom and gloom broadcast. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I hate conspiracy theorists. Why? Because conspiracy theorists keep people from the truth. Yeah, conspiracy theories are really interesting, but it's just for entertainment purposes. It's not real. It's not meant to be taken seriously. I'm telling you right now to look towards November. Look towards when we slowly, very slowly, into winter. Into winter. Into winter. I know you might be saying, well, you know, things always get worse before they get better. I just said at the beginning of this broadcast that for many people, especially witches, the year since 2020 feels like 2020. I'm not talking about the political landscape. I'm talking about the world in general. We know as witches, we work with the supernatural. When you become a witch, you are much more in tune with nature. So things like the wind, things like fire, things like water, things like earth, the elements. The elements are air, water, fire, and earth, and spirit. Spirit being Hecate. When I say spirit, I'm talking about Hecate. That's the fifth element. When you have experiences with a certain element all the time, it's trying to speak to you. Nature speaks. Nature speaks to witches. Why? Because witches work with that same energy found in nature to bring about real, significant, and permanently positive change, otherwise known as witchcraft. When you are a witch, you are much more in tune with nature. You are very similar to the animals in nature. You know how animals can pick up on things before they happen? That's witches. Witches have always been able to pick up on things before it happens. I said this before and I will say this again. Witches live with one foot in the natural world and the other foot in the supernatural world. We never have both feet in one world or the other. It's one foot in the natural, one foot in the supernatural. We just know things. We just know things. We may not know how we know. And I find that people who are meant to be witches, they know things. They don't know why they know things, but they just know. And they know in their hearts of hearts that they are not wrong. They know in their hearts of hearts that danger is approaching. And there's nothing that they can do to prevent it. But they know that since they are under the covering and favor and protection of the Queen of Witches Hecate, when danger comes, will pass over them and they will not be touched. If you are under the covering of a chosen god or goddess or have the protection of your ancestors, especially now since we are 2 weeks away from Samhain, what happens in the world will not happen to you. It may happen to other people, but it will not happen to you. It will not come near you. And this is also a very big warning to your enemies that what's happening in the world now, especially since Saturn, guess what? Saturn, the planet of karma, is still in retrograde. So your enemies should be especially trembling, especially shaken, especially frightened, especially horrified, shaking in their boots, going to bed with the covers over their heads, because they are going to be the first victims of what is coming in the world in late November. It's only going to get worse. No, I'm not talking about doom and gloom. I'm talking to you about the future. If you are a witch and you are naturally in tune with nature, you've heard this in the wind. You've seen this in the flame of a candle. You felt this when you walk barefoot in the sand. You've seen this, you felt this when you took a swim in a river or an ocean. You've seen this if you are truly connected to the elements of earth, air, fire, water, and under the covering of the spirit known as Hecate, or your own chosen god or goddess that you have earned favor from. So whatever happens in the world to people who are not witches will not come to your doorstep. It can't come to your doorstep because you are a truly devout devotee of your chosen god or goddess. It does not matter. That's why when COVID-19 broke out in New York, I was not worried because I knew that Hecate would protect me, and she has. Because I'm under her anointing. I'm under her favor. I'm under her covering. Many other witches are too. It's not just me. I'm not bragging. It's other witches too. Because I listened to Hecate to know how to stay alive during the pandemic. That's why I'm here now. I'm here now alive after the pandemic because Hecate kept me alive. That's why. I'm not alive because of my own doing. I'm alive because of the presence of Hecate in my heart. That's why I'm here now. And that's why and that's why you will be here after whatever comes in late November. If you listen to her, if you listen to your chosen god or goddess, what happens to non-witches, what happens to people who play around too much, people who laugh and, joke and make fun of you for, being a witch doctor or being one of those psychics or being one of those people who can tell the future, who can predict the future. It's not my fault. It's not the fault of any witch that they can predict the future and be correct with no error. This was put in us while we were still in our mother's womb. Even if you happen to be adopted, guess what? It was still put inside of you. Even if you don't know who your mother is, it was still put inside of you. I said this before. Witches really do come alive when it is the season of the witch, when it really is Witchtober. You just have to look at the world. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I hate conspiracy theorists because they keep people away from the truth. Listen to the wind. If you have noticed an increase, it's just windy all the time around you. Of course, there are areas in the world when it is always windy, so you might try to discount it. You might try to ignore it. No, don't ignore it. I don't care if you live in the windy city of Chicago. Okay, you live in Chicago. Chicago is windy. I'm not talking about Chicago. I'm talking about the wind. I'm talking about the elements of air, wind. I'm talking about that. I don't care about Chicago. Don't bring up the windy city, Chicago, and say, oh, well, it's always windy there anyway, so this is not unusual. You're not listening. When you listen to the wind, you hear a voice. Yeah. When you listen to the element that you are closest to, like for me, I'm a water sign. I'm a Scorpio. So my element is water. So when I'm around liquids, especially water, I get a lot of downloaded, intuitive, correct, true information, and it is never wrong. Because that's my element. My element is water because I am a Scorpio. If you don't know what your element is, look at your birth chart. Look at where the sign is in your sun sign. If you have noticed an uptick of just being windy, when there has been no announcement on the Weather Channel about it being windy, yeah, that's a message for you. But wind air also represents communication. That's why I say listen to the wind. Wind, the elements of wind also signifies communication. Listen to it. It will be an audible voice. It's not going to be a crazy voice that you hear in your head because you just happen to be crazy. It's a real voice that you might mistake for being a flesh and blood person. But it's just actually your spirit acting up. It's your spirit responding. It's your spirit, if you let it. It is your spirit listening. If you choose to listen. Now, if you don't choose to listen, that's okay. It will go to the next witch who will listen. You know how many witches are psychic, are born psychic? They know they're psychic. They know they can predict the future. They know what's coming and they never say anything. Why? Because they don't want to get branded as crazy or psychic or nut. I mean, not psychic, I mean psycho or nuts. Or, oh, she needs to go to the G building. They don't say anything. They don't warn. That's why a lot of witches who also happen to be psychic break down in tears when these types of events, just like what's happening with Israel and Palestine, happen. They break down in tears because they saw that it was coming. All I said was to look towards autumn. We are now in autumn. And people in Israel basically got jumped, surprisingly, which I still don't understand. How the hell did Palestine get past all of that protection? What's it called? That dome? That big ass security system? How did they get past that? That tells me right there that it was an inside job. I'm not saying the Palestinians are too stupid to get past that security system, but they must have had help. So that means it came from within. That's all I have to say about it. I'm not withholding information. That's the truth. That's the truth. I'm not saying that the Palestinians are stupid and can't figure out how to get past Israel's security system. But I know they had help. Palestine is not that powerful. Israel is a powerhouse. It is. I don't want to talk too much about the conflict because it doesn't very much relate to us as witches. I only talk about the conflict when Hecate tells me to. You know how a lot of people gets on the bandwagon. You know how a lot of fake psychics. You know how a lot of Christians, apostles, prophets of Jesus Christ jump on the bandwagon and say they have a word from Jesus about the conflict in Israel and Palestine when they are just talking out of their ass. No, I don't do that. I'm going to tell you the truth as I see it. I'm going to tell you the truth as it's told to me by Hecate. We know that let man be a liar and let Hecate be the truth. As witches, we know to let mankind be a liar and let Hecate be truth. Humankind is a liar. Hecate is the truth. Okay? So I don't want to talk too much about that unless I get information about it. I don't want to get on the bandwagon and talk about things out of my own imagination, what I want to be true. Because that's not what I heard in the wind. I heard this information in the wind 2 days before the conflict in Israel and Palestine. I heard it in the wind. There was something coming. I just kept hearing the word east. Even though You know, I said this before, and I will say it again. There is no such thing as the Middle East. It's not a real place. There is no such thing as the Middle East. It is all Africa. They may have white skin, but they have black blood. Their blood is that of Africa. Let me just say that, because I'm going to keep saying that, because people believe that the Middle East is its own country or its own continent, and it's not. There is no such thing as the Middle East. It is all Africa. They may have white skin, but their blood is that of black people. That's the truth. It's not racist. I'm not wrong. I'm not lying. It's the truth. Get out of your box of thinking, which is wrong if you disagree with me, and take in this truth. Because it is truth. Listen to nature. Nature speaks. Nature speaks. If you listen, if you're hard-headed, you know, I also say, you know, a hard head makes a soft behind. Those who don't hear must feel. Those who don't hear must feel. Those who don't hear, don't want to hear, must and will feel. It's better to just listen than to feel, because when you feel, it's going to feel hurtful. It's going to hurt. A hard head makes a soft behind. A hard head makes a soft behind. Watch yourself before you wreck yourself. It's better to watch yourself and listen. Do that. Do that. Figure that out. Figure that out. Figure that out when this broadcast comes to a close. Please think that through. It's better to listen to the element of either earth, air, water, fire, or spirit, whichever one you are close to, than to find out the hard way. It's always good to have information beforehand before something big goes down. I always listen to nature. That's why I encourage witches to go out into nature. I know there are witches who are not big on nature because they believe that when you say nature, you must be talking about a Wiccan. A Wiccan is someone who follows the religion known as Wicca. Wiccans are not witches. Wiccans can be witches, but they are not obligated to be witches. Wicca is a nature-based religion, so they are probably getting details about what is to come in late November. Why? Because Wiccans are followers of the changing seasons. Wicca, W-I-C-C-A, is a nature-based religion. So Wiccans work directly with nature. They may never cast a spell in their lives because they're not witches. You can be a Wiccan and a witch. You can be both, or you can be one or the other. The choice is always yours to make. But for those witches like myself, and probably you too, who are in tune with nature, you see, you hear in your dreams while you are awake. You see the future. And you understand, and you, more importantly, I believe, you accept that you can't do anything to stop it. You can only stay under the protection and the covering of the Queen of Witches, Hecate, or your own chosen god or goddess that you are a devotee of. That's your choice. Every witch, every Wiccan, every pagan has got to make a choice. every one of us has got to make a choice. Whether you're going to warn others about what's going to happen, if you have all the details, or you're going to keep it to yourself, or you're going to try to prevent it from happening. Listen, I knew there was something, I said this a couple of moments ago, I knew there was something coming in 2020 on October 31st of 2019. I knew there was something bad coming because I can hear it in the wind. And I know it was coming to New York. I live in New York, okay? I'm a New Yorker. And I knew it was coming to New York. I just felt so uneasy. I felt disturbed in my spirit. I felt anger in my spirit because I knew there was something bad coming to New York. I knew it. But I couldn't articulate what that was. I just I don't know what this is. I wasn't really watching the news. The news wasn't really talking about this virus. But on October 31st, 2019, it was windy that night here in New York City. It was very windy. Why is it so windy? It wasn't really cold, but it was unusually windy. And I know when that happens, for me personally, when it gets really windy in New York, I know that there's trouble coming. Do you remember here in New York back in June when the whole city was covered in smoke? When the whole city was orange and you couldn't breathe? And you had to stuff towels underneath your window to keep the smoke out of your house. I wish you had that image to put up of the smoke covering the Statue of Liberty. That just happened in June because of those forest fires in Canada. All that smoke came here to New York, and the whole state was just orange, and the smoke was suffocating. Yeah, it was windy a couple of days before that happened. And I knew something was going to happen here in New York. I just knew it. You might be saying, why do so many... I know people ask this question, especially Christians ask this question about New York. Why do so many bad things happen to New York? Oh, New York is cursed. Oh, it's because New York supports same-sex marriages. It's because New York supports a woman's right to choose to have an abortion. It's because New York mocks God. So many bad things happen to New York because we are so progressive. We are so liberal. We are so in the future, not backwards like Florida, not backwards like Alabama, not backwards like Tennessee, not backwards like other states who can't get their shit together. Why do so many bad things happen to New York? It's just the geographic of where we live. It's not because New York is cursed. We just happen to be in a bad area of the country. So we tend to get a lot of environmental things happening here. It's not a curse. And then Christians go as far as to say, oh, all these bad things happen to New York because God, Jesus, is punishing New York for same-sex marriage. God, Jesus, is punishing New York for, having women the right to choose abortion. It's all just a bunch of shit. It is just all a bunch of shit. It's not true. It's just people hating on New York. It's just people hating on New York. That's it. That's it. That's it. You need to think about Alabama and how it's okay to marry your cousin. It's okay to have sex, booty sex, in the booty hole with your sister in Alabama. Oh, yeah, I just said it out loud. Deal with it. Stop committing incest, you fucking freak. All right? You know, I'm always going to defend my state. I'm a New Yorker. I'm always going to defend my state. I don't give a fuck. Don't lie about my state. Don't lie. It's not Jesus or God or Mickey Mouse or Muhammad or even Hecate punishing New York with all of these environmental situations. It's not. It is just what it is. The environment. Don't you think that maybe it's because of global warming? You know how people deny climate change? Yeah, keep on denying it. I said this before. Nature does not need us. The environment does not need us. Nature, the environment was here before us, and it will be here after us. We need this planet. There is no oxygen on Mars, no matter what Elon Musk says, no matter what Bill Gates says. There is no oxygen on any other planet except this planet known as Earth. Matter of fact, we don't even know who named Earth Earth. We don't even know who gave this planet its name. It's just Earth. But we don't know why it's called Earth. It's just Earth. Listen to nature. Listen to nature. Listen to nature. Because those who don't listen must feel. No, those who don't hear must, and unfortunately, the hard way, they will feel. They will feel. And it's going to hurt. You are going to be in pain. And you would have nobody to blame but yourself because you did it to yourself. It's not because you are cursed. It's not because this is divine punishment. This is not because you didn't turn the light off. For those of you who have OCD, it's not because of that. It's because of what you didn't do when nature was speaking to you, especially if you are a witch. Why? Because witches work with the energy found in nature. The elements: earth, air, water, fire, spirit. 5 elements. 5. Every time you do a spell, ritual, hex, or curse, you are using at least 1 or 2 elements. If you want to increase, if you want to boost your spells, I would suggest you use all 5 of the elements: earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. If you are doing witchcraft, you are definitely working with spirit. No matter what god or goddess that you choose, you are definitely working with spirit. The other 4 elements is yours to choose. It's yours to choose. And every witch has got to make a choice. Look towards November, the middle of November, for things to increase, for things to really ramp up in a bad way. For those who are not witches, it will be in a bad way. Saturn, the planet of karma, is in retrograde until November 4th. So this speaks volumes of bad news for your enemies. I don't feel sorry for your enemies. I don't feel sorry for mine. You cannot feel sorry for them. You cannot feel bad for them, because they had more than enough time to get off of you, to back down from you, to back off from you, and they refuse. So now they will have a traditional experience with the Queen of Witches, Hecate, face to face. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. They deserve it. They have had it coming for a long time now, haven't they? You don't have to admit it to me. I already know. I already know. Those who don't hear must feel, and your enemies are not excluded. Oh, they're going to feel all right. Head first. Head first. Head first. Because they deserve it. Nobody escapes a traditional experience with the Queen of Witches, Hecate. And now because I feel like the wind, because I'm seeing the wind, I'm feeling the wind really pick up, you can direct that same wind to your enemies, to the throats of your enemies, to the ankles of your enemies, to cut them off at the waist so they can pursue you no more. And they will not pursue you no more. This wind is also speaking to your enemies that this is at the time of this live broadcast, this is their last time to back off of you. Now, right now. Right now. There is no negotiation. There is no, well, you know, I didn't mean it. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want your sorry. What am I going to do with sorry? What is a witch going to do with sorry? Just let you go on your merry way? Just let you escape? There is no escaping. There is no escaping. Saturn, the planet of karma that always works in the favor of witches, is still in retrograde until November 4th of this year. At the time of this broadcast, at the conclusion of this broadcast, your enemies have no choice but to back away, back off, back down. Immediately. What happens to them? What happens to non-witches? Oh, you might be saying, oh, what's about the children? Oh, are the children innocent? No, they are guilty by association. You know that? Oh, but they're children. Did you hear what I just said? Oh, but the children are innocent. Did you hear what I just said? Did you not understand what I just said? The children are guilty by association. Your ancestors, who are not witches, may have been people who have ancestors. Their ancestors may have been weak, but the ancestors of witches have eliminated total bloodlines. The ancestors of witches have eliminated total bloodlines. That means everybody in the family is dead because of one witch that stood up for their own bloodline, to protect their bloodline, to stop the rape, the murder, the thievery that was happening to their family. Nobody gets a pass, including the children. That sounds so harsh. That sounds downright evil. But nobody gets a pass. So don't tell me, don't tell Hecate, oh, what's about the children? Because the children are innocent. The children are not innocent. They are guilty by association. Oh, but I don't want to hurt children. There's nothing you can do about it. You can ask. It won't work. Because nobody escapes an experience with Hecate, so it won't work, all right? You can ask Hecate to spare children, but it probably won't work. Because nobody gets a pass. Let me say this again, and please listen. The ancestors of witches, W-I-T-C-H-E-S, the ancestors of witches have eliminated total bloodlines. This means that one witch killed off entire families. Why? Because they were not going to let their family continue to be murdered, continue to be raped, continue to be robbed blindly, continue to be lied on, and they stood up. And that also goes into generational curses. Because how often have I said that it is the witch. It is the witch of the family that will put generational curses to rest. The witch of the family. The witch. If you're not a witch, you can't do it. You can't do it. Why? Because you're not a witch. That's why. That's why. You already knew that. You don't have it. You don't have that something special. You don't work with the energy found in nature. You don't listen to the wind. You don't listen to what it's saying. Or you hear what's in the wind. You hear what's being spoken, but you choose to ignore it. Which I don't get. I don't understand why you want to ignore it. That's stupid. That's stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Listen to your chosen element. Listen to your chosen element. If you are air, water, fire, earth, whatever element you are closest to, listen to it. Listen to it. But I'm telling you right now, in the month of November, things are going to ramp up. In the month of November, things are going to increase rapidly, quickly. That if you have not been listening to me these past few months, or listening to Hecate through me these past few months, it's going to shock you. But if you have been paying attention to me, and paying attention to nature, and paying attention to Hecate, nothing should surprise you. Why wouldn't it surprise you? Nothing should surprise you. If you have been under my anointing that drips down from Hecate into my spirit to be delivered to you here live, nothing should surprise you. Nothing should surprise you. You should be able to listen to it, what's happening in the news, and just say, oh, I knew that was happening. Oh, High Priestess, Autumn Phoenix, Hecate, nature told me this was going to go down, so I'm not surprised. But if you have been deaf this whole time to my voice, to the voice of Hecate, and worst of all, deaf to nature, deaf to the wind, then you will be absolutely shocked and terrified and horrified, like many witches were when Palestine and Israel started fighting amongst themselves. When that happened, I wasn't surprised. Why? Because Hecate told me to expect conflict. Not here in the States, but in the world. And she wasn't talking about Ukraine and Russia. But she said more conflict would follow. It's going to be like a domino effect. I'm not talking about pizza, okay? I'm talking about a domino effect. I'm not talking about pizza where you can get like 2 toppings for $7.99. No, I'm not talking about that, okay? I'm talking about a real domino effect. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised because I knew it in the visions I had. I knew it in the dreams I had. I knew it by listening to nature, listening to the wind, listening to Hecate. So I wasn't surprised. But I was shocked at how many witches were surprised. Like, how could you not know? I'm disappointed in you. I'm not talking about nuclear war. I'm talking about how a lot of witches are surprised when they should not be surprised because they were given this information, but they chose to ignore it. That's your choice. It's a poor choice. It's a stupid choice, but a choice nonetheless. Listen to the wind if there has been an increase of windy activity. Even if you live in the in the windy city known as Chicago, still listen to it. Still listen to it. Still listen to it. And don't talk over it. What do I mean by what do I mean by talking over the wind when it's speaking? That means interrupted it. Asking questions. You can ask questions after the wind has finished talking to you, but don't interrupt it. Because if you interrupt it, it's going to stop talking to you altogether. And then you're going to be left with figuring out the rest all by yourself. So don't interrupt what you asked of. Don't do that. I used to do that. I like to talk and ask questions. But I don't interrupt. When I'm working with Hecate and I'm having a conversation with Hecate, I don't interrupt her. I don't. I listen. And when she's finished talking, it can be like 2 hours later that she's finished talking. Then I will ask my question. But I'm not going to interrupt the Queen of Witches while she's talking. Stop doing that. Wait until she's finished talking and then ask your questions. Don't be disrespectful like I used to be. Okay, don't interrupt. And sometimes Hecate can talk a lot, but you have to listen. And yes, she will repeat herself if you miss something. So you don't have to worry about asking her to repeat something or saying, excuse me, or I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Ask. Because Hecate got time to talk to you. Because you decided to put time aside to welcome the Queen of Witches into your sacred space, into your presence. So yes, you can ask her to repeat something or to explain something further, but wait for your own questions after she has finished talking. Don't interrupt her. Because that's what I used to do. I didn't get much out of her because I was talking too much, interrupting her, and she simply stopped talking to me until I learned to listen. Because those who don't hear must feel. Those who don't hear, don't want to hear, must feel. Listen. Listen. Learn to listen. Put on your listening cap. Listen. Listen. Even if it's all bad news, still listen. Because even though it may be all bad news, she's going to give you solutions. Hecate is going to give you solutions. But you have to let her finish talking first. Hecate is the 4 elements of earth, air, water, fire. She is. Hecate is the 5th element, also known as Akasha. She is the element of spirit. And she will only give you information, download information into you if you are ready to receive it. Hecate will never give you anything. Hecate will never give you a glimpse into the future on any level unless you are ready to receive it. How do you know you are ready to receive it? When you listen, don't interrupt her when she's talking. That's how. It's simple. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. A lot of people tell me that they can't hear Hecate or she's not speaking to them. And I know it's because that person is talking too much, interrupting the Queen of Witches. And Hecate just decided to not talk to you anymore because you keep interrupting her. A lot of witches need to just shut up. That's the truth. That's the truth. So at the beginning of this broadcast, if you missed it, I said that these past few years, I just felt like 2020 on a repeat. And I'm not wrong. I do not believe that I'm wrong because Hecate told me so. Every mankind is a liar. Hecate is the truth. Mankind is a liar. Hecate is the truth. Simple as that. Simple as that. Just that simple. Mankind is a liar. Hecate is the truth. She is the truth. So don't ever doubt what she tells you. Don't ever think that she's just pulling your leg or just giving you, feeding you, bad news with no solution. She's going to give you a solution. She is going to give you a solution. If you want one. If you want one. If you are a witch, pay attention to what nature is telling you. Get out into nature. Go outside. Go outside. Go out in the forest. Go out in your local woods. Go camping. Oh, I don't like camping. Oh, I don't like hiking. Oh, I don't like being in nature. Then how can you call yourself a witch? I mean, witches work with the energy found in nature. That's how witches do witchcraft. By working with the energy found in nature. In nature. 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 That's not a valid excuse. I don't like camping. I don't like being in the woods. I might get bit by something. You mean to tell me you didn't see that snake? You mean to tell me you didn't see that scorpion? You didn't see that big ass spider? You just decided to, destroy its nest? That's bullshit. That is bullshit. That is bullshit. It's bullshit. You saw that snake. You saw that scorpion. But you thought because you're a witch that it was going to be peaceful to you. No. Scorpions still bite. Scorpions still sting. Snakes still bite and it hurts. Alright. Look out for them. Just watch yourself. Be careful when you're out in the woods or the forest or going camping. But you have to get back into nature. You have to get into nature for the very first time. For some of you witches. For some of you witches, it will be your first time going into nature. And if you don't like bugs or snakes or scorpions or any animals, you're not going to approach a bear. You're not going to approach a doe with her baby deer or approach a moose. You don't approach those animals because they will beat you up. That's why, okay? They're not your friends. I understand that a little baby cub bear is cute, but the mother will eat you. Okay? Don't approach baby cubs. Even though they're super cute, don't approach them. Don't. You will die. Okay? It's a horrible way to die, but it's the end for you, right? Get back into nature. Get into nature. Listen to what nature is saying. When you do, you too will be able to see into the future, to see what is to come, and solutions to keep yourself protected. I survived the pandemic because I was under the covering of Hecate. If I had not been under the covering of Hecate, I would have gotten COVID-19 and died already. But I chose, it was my choice, my conscious decision to listen to Hecate. And it saved my life. Many of you witches are alive because of Hecate. I know it. You know it too. And she will continue to offer you, continue to anoint you with her favor, with her protection, as long as you remain a devotee of hers. And do not miss out on your offerings to her also. Yeah, you have to give Hecate offerings. Whatever she wants from you. get it and give it to her. I don't care what it is. But just know this, when it comes to giving Hecate offerings, she's never going to ask you to get something that is impossible or you can't afford. She will give it to you. She will make it available for you to bring back to the altar, to give to her as an offering. But you have to listen now more so than ever. You have to listen more so now than ever before to nature, especially to the wind. Because the wind, the element of wind, air, represents communication. The element of air represents communication. Are you listening? Are you listening to the wind? Are you taking in the message it's trying to give to you? Or are you just disclaiming it, brushing it off, ignoring it? If you are going to be surprised of what is to come next in late November. Because things are only going to get worse. But not for you if you are a witch. Things won't get worse for you if you are a witch. If you listen to your chosen god or goddess, don't argue with them. Don't negotiate with them. Don't go back and forth with them. Don't try to change things. Just keep yourself and your bloodline protected. That's it. That's it. So I wanted to come on here live and talk about these things because it needed to be said, and because Hecate directed me to come on here live and talk about these things to inform the witch that these things are to come. These things are unfolding as I speak, and that witches can still prosper. Witches can still have abundance despite the chaos of the current situation of the world. What happens to the world will not happen to witches, because they are witches, because they are under the covering of Hecate, and because witches are powerhouses. That's why. Witches are powerhouses. If you're not a witch, you are not a powerhouse. Period. Period. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how famous you is. If you're not a witch, you are not a powerhouse. You're not even, not really anything to me, to be quite honest with you. No, that's not me. No, it's not me showing my love for witches. Witches, by definition, by their very nature, are powerhouses. Witches are powerhouses. Write that in the comments. I am a powerhouse. This is not a motivational speech. This is the truth. Witches are powerhouses. I don't give motivational speeches. I tell the truth. And the truth is, witches are powerhouses. If they listen to the wind right now more than ever before, they will get information. And they will not be touched by what is unfolding and what is yet to come at the conclusion of this very broadcast here live. So thank you, witches, for joining me. If you have not yet done so, be sure to share this broadcast in your stories or your other social media platform. Tell a witch or witches that there is a high priestess here in New York who is anointed and appointed by the Queen of Witches, Hecate, to speak on things related to real, significant, and permanently positive change through witchcraft by me, because I'm anointed to talk about these things. I know what I'm talking about. What I say does come to fruition, because it was said to me by Hecate, and every human being is a liar, and Hecate is the truth. All truth is through Hecate, the queen of witches. So thank you, witches, for taking time out of your day to spend this hour with me, a little bit over an hour with me. And now release you into the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.